Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video, and welcome back to more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. I hope you'll forgive the fact that I look like absolute trash today. My hair is awful, I'm wearing a pajama jumper and one of my comfy t-shirts. I've had a pretty bad day. Had a bit of a meltdown earlier, and then got a bit better, and then melted down again. And I haven't had like a full blown I haven't even cried and apart from like at the TV and stuff. Like I haven't like cried in like my day life in months. Like I've been doing really well for quite a long time now. So uh disappointing that it's all went slightly wrong today. But you know, these things happen and it's good. It clears out any residual sadness from your brain, reset yourself. And I got an email just before I started filming to say that I don't need to work tomorrow because the person I was meant to be covering for has decided that they don't need the day off after all. So I'm feeling good. I don't need to work tomorrow. Woohoo! So I'm back feeling good again. Yeah, it's been a bad day, but whatever. These things happen anyway. So I figured that since I've got some time, the now I will try and do the next stage of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. If I'm a bit slow on the draw, I'm just still a bit kind of meh. But I'm picking up. Oh, crikey. Jesus. Fucking hell. Oh my god, why is it... I just turned the sound down. Why did it go back up to the top? There we go. Yeah, I'm feeling good, but, like, I apologise if I'm slightly subdued. But I'm hoping that this will perk me up a bit, because what I kind of wanted to do was play a video game, but I was right. I've been playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I was actually really enjoying it. I'm like, God, this game's actually really good, considering Kingdom Hearts games can be a bit hit or miss. Cough, chain of memories, cough, cough. But I got to the last boss, and I was doing Terra's story first, and I got to the last boss with Terra, and holy shit, that's a difficulty spike. And like, I went online, and it was like, I was looking at a walkthrough, and it's like, if you're struggling, then maybe you should go back to the Mirage Arena and like try and level up. And I'm like, I don't want to have to do that. I hate grinding in video games. Like, I don't want to have to go and bloody fight in the Mirage Arena, whatever that is, and try and level up. Just make the boss not be such a dickhead. Like, it was impossible. My hands were sweating. I was getting absolutely nowhere. So I want to play Birth by Sleep, but I'm like, I can't, because if I turn it on, it's not going to be a fun experience, because I can't beat this boss. So I'm just going to turn it on and then spend an hour just doing the same thing over and over again and getting nowhere. So I thought, you know what, we'll play Phoenix Wright instead, because I don't really know what else I've got to play right now. I thought there was something on my keyboard there. It's just the shadow from my webcam. God's sake, right, I've been recording for like 10 minutes, it feels like, and I haven't actually done anything. Right, here we go. February 24th, 3:12 p.m., Wright and Cole offices. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. Some things will never change. We did what we had to in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL9 incident was just another name for the Joe Dark killings. Sounds like everyone's heard about these killings but me. That reminds me of what isn't like Joe Chill the name of the guy who like murdered Batman's parents? Because that's the vibe that I'm getting from this. Lana wanted Drake convicted, so Drake. She wanted Drake convicted. Lana wanted Dark convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used what happened to me. What do you mean, what happened to you? It's all there in the file. Joe Dark's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered, Joe Dark tried to kill me? What the fuck? What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother. Neil was only trying to save me. Oh, jeez. So that means you. Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial. I didn't see that one coming. To be fair, that was in your file. I don't know how you didn't see that coming. Am I definitely recording? Shit. We are, that's good. We've only been recording for 5 minutes. Okay, I feel like I've been recording for like half an hour. Right. No, wait, that's not the button. Although, my friend told me to click the tree. Mia's plant, Charlie. I've been taking care of him in Maya's absence. Huh? He looks a little yellow today. Oh, I watered him just now. I mixed in a lot, too. Mixed in what? Why, my very own scientific additive. Well, Charlie, you like it? I told you, he's turning yellow. Oh god, she's tried to kill the damn plant. I love how that was just, she was all upset about, like, the time she almost got murdered, and then she's like, oh yeah, the plant. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of the year, too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day. Unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office. This is sounding a lot like what happened with me and Maya. Joe Dark. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Dark tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall attacked him. Or tackled him, I think that was. Then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck, and the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw then burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. A permanent picture. I don't remember the moment when Dark stabbed Mr. Marshall. So you weren't able to testify about that? No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. That must be why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecutor's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumours about Mr. Edgeworth, I mean. It's all my fault. If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. So it's true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold, like she is today. She must not have been able to face up to what she did, especially not to Emma. What did you see in the instant that crime occurred? Dark knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was cradling me in her arms. Poor Emma. You've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago, you must have been 14. That's understandable. Once it was all over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grew up, I'd become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies, and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. There's something that's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at that time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor. Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Dark had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course. This happened at the police department. He tried to run away halfway through the interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective offices in the questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Dart case, she was transferred to the prosecutor's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I'd better have another talk with her. Sus. Do I have anything to show her? Probably not. I mean, we've got a fucking shit ton of stuff. I've noticed that defense attorneys have a tendency to want to show people things. What is this, a behavioral study of lawyers? Okay. Well, let's boogie on down to the detention centre, I guess. February 24th, detention centre visitors room. Lana. Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul, why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risks. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SL9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecutor's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about that unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have a right to know, Mr. Wright. Good. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen. I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believed in you, Lana. I believed that no matter what happened, you'd always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At the trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15, there was no murder at the police department. Oh, I feel like I need to sneeze. And I've just lost my headphone. Tell me it's not true, Lana. What the witness, Miss Starr, said. What's going on with this? Stay in my ear. About you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so fazed before. It's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Gant cracked together. Chief Gant? Then he was vice head of criminal affairs, but he still worked the crime scenes. Damon Gant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could even be filed. Emma really idolizes her big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reason I became a detective was to gain experience investigating crime scenes, so you could later use that experience in court. Gant's help in the SL9 case was critical in its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecutor's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of theirs 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Dark. Second in command? That means the chief detective was, no doubt, Damon Gant. Yes, Damon Gant and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall, and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gung-ho. 2 seconds. I've got a text, so let me just reply. Thank you. Without a doubt, Joe Dark was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when the last murder took place. When he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Dark. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Sometimes the text goes so slow in this, and I'm like, Now you tell us. Detective Gant and Prosecutor Marshall were the ones questioning Dart that day. The investigation was in its final stages, when Dart must have panicked. He waited until Gant and Marshall let their guards down, then fled the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Detective Gant and myself. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana? It appears so. I was filing some papers while Gant and Marshall were questioning Dark. I keep going to say Drake! That's a pile of bodies! When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies? Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Dark. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Dark had incurred a minor concussion and lay unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma, carried her out of the room, and just held her. Can't blame her after all. Her sister must have gone... I can't blame her after all her sister must have gone through. After that, I placed Dark under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. I'm so chilly. I'm trying to get my blanket. You were all involved in the SL9 incident. That's right. Quite a coincidence, Yeah, just a bit. I don't buy it. Ooh, Phoenix getting edgy. maybe not the right word in this in this game. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was also involved in that incident, just by chance. But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall. Yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Dark. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Dark at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon Gant and I shared. The office that Mr. Gant now occupies by himself. The Chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the Chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder. Maybe we should! Is she gonna look at any of my shit? Attorneys and prosecutors have no business showing evidence outside court. It's taboo, especially when the interests of both parties are involved. She really means it. Lana. Okay, no evidence for her then. Bye. So I guess we're going to the Chief's office then. February 24th, Police Department, Criminal Affairs. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things seem kinda quiet around here today. You're right. The head of the department seems the same though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right. We can come back here later. So you're not gonna let me go to the Chief's office, are you? Well, fuck you guys. Screw you guys, I'm going home. February 24th, Police Department entrance. Oh yay, look who's here. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things would turn out this way when I woke up this morning. Que sera, sera. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambino? I should have known my luck had run out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Must be his pet cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be coming back. Sorry, but you can't go into the evidence room today, partner. But Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If ever there was a case I needed to know the truth about, it was that one. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Humph. Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. No steak lunch for you. Something was fishy about the trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence we found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Dark's, all right. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim sustained. What does that mean? It means there's a good chance that that knife was not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, that possibility had been erased. Could the facts have been concealed with forged evidence? That case left behind scars on all of us. The scars that the SL9 incident left behind. I've got this at the right volume, but it just seems really loud today. I don't know if it's just this particular bit of music. Leaves a 10. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he? Your brother? He was 27 at the time. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You don't mean... King of the prosecutors. Not that again. What are you looking at me like that for? That's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right. It was the day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have gone by already. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently, someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him, too, the commissioners would get suspicious. Nah, they were careful enough not to be too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? Don't get upset, Bambino. I mean Damon Gant and Lana Sky. Lana, Lana, Bobana, Banana, Fana, Fofana, Fifa, Momana, Lana. Chief Detective Damon Gant and his second-in-command, Lana Sky. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case, the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office, right? Yeah, Damon Gant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She's never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Scott was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambino, but her secret is too well guarded. I never found out. Lana's secret. It all started 2 years ago. So there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. And that someone is Damon Gant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambino. Well, that was strange. Did you get anything else to say about this thing? Oh dear, I'm sleepy. The blue badger is still writhing around today. Please don't describe him as writhing. Oh my god, why did I click on it? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's dancing. Speaking of dancing, the whole police department has been dancing about like crazy since the other day. Can I take out his batteries? God, please. I just can't help but feel he's going to do something naughty. Yeah, I think he's demonic and possessed, so... Look, that patrolman is slitting the other guy. He must be a detective. So I cuff the light, right? And you know what he says? What are you, a moron? I'm an undercover agent. Oh man, I hate it when that happens. I guess he wasn't soliciting. He was just listening to how his friend messed up. They make a good pair. We ship it. Right, where are we off to now? Anyone arrived here yet? Ooh, something's happening. Police Department, Criminal Affairs. This place is always pretty empty, but today it's deserted. Not true, that guy's here. That must mean everyone's busy solving crimes. Oh, if you're looking for the others, they're all in the conference room. Thanks. Wow, he actually talked to us. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did and the decision about what to do about Mr. Edgeworth, not to mention our statement to the media on tomorrow's trial, there's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. I think festive is the word usually used for those. You know, I was thinking the other day, right, someone was talking about how they don't like Thanksgiving because you know, they have issues with their family, and the people, like, the media always makes out that Thanksgiving's like a thing that you have to do with your family. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, like, I love Christmas, and I used to love doing the big family Christmas dinner. We don't really have the family members anymore to do the big family Christmas with, but I used to love the big family Christmas. But when I think about it, the fact that in America they have, like a big Thanksgiving thing, which is, like, the same as Christmas dinner, on like the 24th of November, and then have to reconvene a month later for the Christmas edition. It's just wild to me. It's like we spend a year like preparing for Christmas. I couldn't cope with having another one a month before. That's wild. I don't know how Americans cope with having like just two of these huge holiday affairs a month apart. Can you actually imagine? Because no, I could not. I could not be arsed. Like, I cook my one Christmas dinner a year, and that is the extent of it. I'm not cooking a Thanksgiving dinner as well. You can forget it. That said, I've got no idea what they eat. Is it turkey? It's turkey for Thanksgiving as well, isn't it? So honestly, then what is the point? If you have turkey for Thanksgiving, then you have turkey for Christmas. What is the point in having two holidays? I don't know. It's not my job to attempt to understand America. I've never been, and at this rate, I'm probably not gonna because the whole place gives me the fear. Anywho, sir, we'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office. Just head across the hall to the other building and take an elevator to the top floor. Really? You mean it's okay for us to go in there? I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. I was going to say, Emma, like, the answer to that is thanks very much and then leave, not question it and make it obvious that you shouldn't be going there. God's sake, man. Wonder if he's got anything to say. That man must be the head detective. He's staring at the screen so hard it might shatter. What? Dark case may have been fabricated? That's what I thought all along. I just never bothered to tell anyone. Now there's a guy who cares about his work. Me, like, watching a game show and being like, that's the answer I thought all along. I just never told anyone. Chief's office. Ooh, fancy. Is this really what someone's office looks like? Because I've worked for a couple of different CEOs in my life, and as much as their offices are usually, like, kind of, you know, decent, I've never seen one with a giant pipe organ in it. Like, a lot of bookcases and usually some pretty ridiculous art, but never a pipe organ. Okay. Whoa, where am I? Yeah, same. In the chief's office, silly. At least that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Bach. Good for you. I thought I was a genius until they tried teaching me notes. I never could remember where C was. Oh girl, I fucking feel you. I still have to have, like I don't know off the top of my head where the keys are on a keyboard. I always have to start with, like, the labeled G key and then work it out and then try and memorize it. I don't think I'll ever be able to play an instrument properly. Gant. Hmm? Oh look, there's a bloody suit of armor there as well. Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. So, Mr. Wright, have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy lately. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full too with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocative statement. Provocative statement? Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. My, how time flies. This guy's so dodgy. See that big picture on the wall over there? I thought that was the team. Yeah, look. That's a picture of Lana, Neil, and me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with this picture. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it though. Gant team picture added to the court record. Sir? Anyway, I'd like to reminisce all day, but there are matters that need my attention. I'm gonna lock up here, so let's go out together. Oh, but this office. It was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have a look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there is no need to investigate it anymore. Now hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. Yeah, this guy's definitely murdered someone. What day am I on? Oh, day 5. Wait, what? No, I'm not. What? Wait, what day am I on? Sorry, I had this trying to get my walkthrough set up again, and I've completely lost track of where we are. Alright, we only on day 3? Yeah, I suppose we are. Good lord. Anyway. Looks like we aren't welcome. It seems that case isn't over with yet after all. What do you mean? Chief Gant denied our request to search the crime scene. That means there must be a reason he doesn't want us looking around in there. You mean like a clue? There's got to be a way we can get inside the Chief's office. Back here? February 24th, Police Department, Criminal Affairs. Hey, pal. Detective Gumshoe, were you in a meeting? I was, just taking a breather. My feet hurt. From sitting so long in the meeting? Actually, I had to serve everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, have either of you seen Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No, why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battle's between you two in court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what it all boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Regardless, the prosecutor is responsible for the evidence he presents in court. Not only that, but as you know, there have been a lot of rumours going around about Mr. Edgeworth. Those who don't like him haven't been able to do anything because of his amazing talent as a prosecutor. But now with this, are there really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only had that, but he's young. There's no better recipe I know of for making enemies. Hey Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime, my treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to that joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. It seems you don't have any problem with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick it out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. Think he'll murder someone in a boat again? Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. He seems genuinely concerned for Edgeworth. Well, did you find out anything? The only evidence Dart left behind was during his final attack. His final attack? You mean when he killed Prosecutor Marshall, who was trying to protect some girl? This is my blanket I'm trying to put over me. Me. That girl was me. It seems Detective Gumshoe never realised Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder weapon. Oh, I forget. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Sure. We'll get that in a second. Joe Dart was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. Joe Dart was 42 at the time of the crime. He was just your run-of-the-mill businessman. A businessman? What made him take to serial killing? One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So, it was an accident? An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed a man that witnessed the accident. Then he killed something. A kid walked by just then and he killed him too. Oh my god, it's going too fast. A jogger came up on the scene and was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Seems he was a pretty careless animal. Of course, this is all conjecture. There wasn't a single shred of evidence. So he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim. This all sounds really sus. Prosecutor Marshall. That crime was witnessed by someone too, but fortunately he was arrested on the spot. It's a good thing that last witness wasn't killed. That last witness. You must mean Emma. I feel like currently where I'm at, what I'm feeling currently, is that I feel like Neil Marshall was the murderer. But I don't think it is. I don't think that's right. But I just kind of feel like, because they were the only two people there, apart from Emma, and then he ended up getting killed, and then Joe Dark got arrested. I feel like it's going to transpire that, like, Neil was chasing him because he was trying to murder him, and then Joe tried to fight back, and then he got killed, and then they were like, it was Joe Dark, he's the murderer, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's going to be the solution, but... right, so I'm supposed to show him the switchblade. About this. Hey, don't tell me that's... It has a tag attached to it, with the label SL9 incident on it. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Gibbon was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker, and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. What is it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. Quick, before he forgets again. This knife. It was Joe Dark's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at, and it had his fingerprints on it too. But no one actually witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well anyway, take a guess where the broken off tip of the knife was found. That's what did him in. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it. Inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match Dark's knife? You bet, down to the last fibre. That's pretty conclusive. Neil's autopsy report added to the court record. Switchblade life added to the court record. Well, there you have it, in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money you need, you should ask Chief Gant. It's not money, but it does concern the Chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil Marshall was murdered. The Chief's out now, and his office is locked. But we'd like to have a look around, if that's okay. Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door. What? Really? But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust. Breach of trust? Simply put, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you. No, I'm sure he could do a pretty good job of doing that himself. How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's. That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died. Oh. So in other words, Gumshoe is our only chance of getting into that office. I wonder if there's something we could show him that would make him change his mind. Well, I don't have a steak dinner. I haven't looked at these yet. What did it say? Stabbed in the back, died from a punctured heart and lung. The knife tip was in the wound. Date and time of death, February 19, between 7 and 7:30. Single stab wound piercing heart/lung. Died from blood loss under 10 minutes. Weapon found in wound was missing tip. What can I show him? Spray him with luminol. Can I show him the blue badger? That's got nothing to do with anything, I just kind of want to see what he says about it. This guy almost made us lose the case today. What are you talking about? He was guarding the bloodstain on that evidence locker with his life. That's more than you can say about most officers nowadays. It would have saved us a lot of trouble if he hadn't guarded it so well. I have to admit, he's right though. Thanks to the Blue Badger, we were able to prove another possibility today. The possibility that another murder took place prior to 5:15 PM. Hell yeah! What am I supposed to show him? Oh. This thing tells me as nothing that I need to show him. It just says go to the High Prosecutor's office. Well, that... Maybe I need to get some... maybe I need to, like, get something later. Maybe they'll, like, give me another steak lunch that I can give them. Okay, so... High Prosecutor's office, then. February 24th, Prosecutor's Office Underground Parking Lot. No one's here today. Not even Miss Starr. Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are. But we proved in court today that no one was murdered in that evidence room at 5:15 PM. On the day of the crime. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case. But instead, it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. Alright. High Prosecutor's Office. February 24th, High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. I wonder if Edgeworth is back yet. There he is. It looks like he's writing something. Huh? What are you doing here? He sure was quick to throw that paper on the floor. Tough day in court, huh? I've had to live the past 2 years with rumours flying around. What's another allegation to me? Cheer up, Mr. Edgeworth. I'm rooting for you. That's Edgeworth for you. Always trying to hide his real feelings. Encoding overload? Oh, come on. How? Okay, the thing's gone away now. How can there possibly be an encoding overload? Shut the fuck up. I was trying to hide his real feelings. So what do you want? Unlike some people, I don't have all day. I'm sus. It keeps coming up and then disappearing. There's no excuse for what I've done. 2 years ago I used false evidence to obtain a guilty verdict. That's what it all breaks down to, and nothing I do can erase that fact. But you didn't know, did you? I mean, that the evidence was falsified. The police department and the prosecutor's office share a bond of trust. If that bond is broken, we stand to lose everything. The police department's error is my error. My responsibility is the prosecutor in charge. That fact remains the same no matter what excuses I might have. Mr. Edgeworth, I take pride in my work. So tell me why. Why has it all come to this? Even Edgeworth can't keep this kind of emotion bottled up. It doesn't say it now. I'm judging. Tomorrow's trial. Are you up for the trial tomorrow? First last year's trial, and now this one. It seems all you do is worry about me. To be honest, you're getting on my nerves. But Mr. Edgeworth, you can't just walk out on the trial. Tomorrow is the last day. It's too late to change prosecutors. I'll bet that's what my superiors are banking on. I never thought that case would come back to haunt me like this. What do you mean? That list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. It's only half as long as most lists. That is odd. After Neil Marshall was murdered, I became prosecutor for that case. I may not have been part of the investigation, but at the time there was only one thing in my mind. I'd use the evidence I was given to prove the suspect guilty. Say, we just saw a picture taken around that time. That picture, something seems strange about it. Could you tell us again about what happened that day? The day Detective Goodman was murdered? You were participating in a ceremony over at the station, right? I've never cared for ceremonies, but I had to attend that one. Because you were awarded this? Those receiving awards can't exactly skip out on the ceremony. I finished up at the office in the morning, and then drove over to the police department. You've finished up at the office? Yes, just odds and ends, clerical stuff. I didn't plan on returning to the office that day. That is, until I was asked to take something back. Take something back? This. Oh yeah, Chief Gant asked you to hold on to that, didn't he? Yes, it was a piece of evidence in a case that was closed half a year ago. He asked me to bring it back to the prosecutor's office. That's the story we heard yesterday. And so you came back here to the prosecutor's office because the chief asked you to? That's right. He says something about that photo. Can't believe how many pages of evidence we've got here. This picture was hanging on the wall in Chief Gant's office. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He just started making a name for himself. Looks like this was taken when he received the King of Prosecutors trophy. Speaking of that, there's something that bothers me. Yes? The trophy Mr. Marshall is holding. It's a little different than yours. Yes, you're right. I remember now. Remember what? That was the official prosecutor trophy used until that time. There's a story behind it. A story? Sounds interesting. Would you mind telling it to us? It's simple, really. Contradiction. That's what the award's based on. What? This award originates from an ancient Chinese tale. In Chinese, the word contradiction is written with two characters. The first means halberd, and the second means shield. Have you heard this story? Me? Oh, sure, everyone knows that. Why don't you tell it, though? For Emma's sake. Very well. Yeah, I see you, Phoenix. Long ago in the kingdom of Chu, there was an arms merchant. One day, he presented the king with two items. The first was a halberd he claimed could slice through any shield or armour. The second was a shield that he claimed could withstand any weapon. Wait a minute. What? Those claims contradict each other. Why is he objecting in a conversation? Very perceptive. But then again, you've heard this story before, right? Anyway, as you mentioned, the very descriptions of these items discredit them both. When the king pointed this out, the merchant was left speechless. And thus the Chinese word for contradiction was born. Is that a real story? Because I've never heard it. Oh, I see. So the chipped shield and the broken knife symbolise... Precisely so. They symbolise the merchant's items. The ancient tale ends with the merchant at a loss for words. But it's in our nature to pursue matters to their conclusion, even if it results in something as ugly as this. Wow, thanks, Mr. Edgeworth. I learned something new today. That's funny. If that's so, why were you only given a shield? You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished. Chief Gant. Getting the prosecutor's profile updated in the court record. He won such a prestigious award. Why would he just leave it on the couch? Better this than the giant steel samurai. What is it? This is the King of Prosecutors Award, right? Of course it is. You know that. I saw something today that looked like this somewhere. Something that looked like that? Yeah, only different. What was it? She's right. Something's amiss here. Maybe I should show him a certain item. What? Oh, are they just meaning the prosecutor's thingy again? A work desk. It's quite tidy, as one might expect. What a nice desk. Easy to use and easy on the eyes. It's polished so high I can see my own reflection. Strange. Why did I just picture Detective Gumshoe? Maybe I'll take that name plaque as a souvenir. Don't, he'll sue you. Wait, what? I feel like that means there's something in here that I need to get to give to Gumshoe, but I don't know what. What's this thing under the desk? I wonder what he was writing before. Come on, Mr. Wright, let's take a look. Are you crazy? Edgeworth is sitting right there. Just distract him, I'll check it out. Hey, Edgeworth. Is that Detective Gumshoe out the window there? Oh no, he's fallen to the ground. Hold on, first let me see what this girl's doing crawling around my feet. You didn't even look. What? Letter of... If you can't read, I'll read it for you. It says letter of resignation. Resignation? Edgeworth, you don't mean... I'm tired, Mr. Wright. I feel as if something inside me has died. But Mr. Edgeworth, none of it is your fault. I know the path I've walked. You don't need to tell me. And the path I've walked hasn't been a just one. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. And no one else should forgive me either. Uh-oh, I think he's serious. Mr. Wright, please, you have to do something. This letter of resignation, I wonder if I can use it for anything. Oh, that's what we need to show Gumshoe. So then he'll be like, oh, no edgy. Okay, anything else? A chessboard! From square one, I'll be watching all 64. I'm not too up on my chess, but it looks like blue's in a bit of a tight spot. The red knights have surrounded the blue pawn. Huh? Those horses are mounted knights. Their swords have really sharp edges. And check out that poor pawn, his head is kind of spiky. Kinda reminds me of you. Mr. Edgeworth might be an avid chess player. What's wrong, Mr. Wright? Edges surrounding a pawn with spiky hair? Nah, it's nothing. Good old Edgy. God, I'm so tired. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Prosecutor's office underground parking lot. Excuse me? Oh, for the love of God. Would either of you care for a £1/4 of roast beef? Absolutely not. Miss Star, I guess she's out of lunches. You certainly are the curious sort, aren't you? Kind of like the first person who sucked a cow's nipple to discover milk. The what? Still, I never thought you'd go digging up that case from 2 years ago. Everyone in this trial was involved in the SL9 incident. Not only that, but the murder occurred on the very day that the evidence from that case was due for transferal. This can't all be attributed to mere coincidence. Aren't you forgetting something? You know, that little scene I happened to witness? The instant Lana stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. No matter how much of the past you dig up, it won't change what I saw. Roast beef is meant to be savoured when eaten. This stupid fucking phone does my head on. Miss Star's hatred towards Lana. It all dates back to 2 years ago. Joe Dark. That's a name I'll... Oh, I forgot, it's her. Joe Dark. That's not a name I'll soon forget. We trailed him for half a year. Oh, the pressure. Still, I don't think I was ever more alive than I was then. Those days were steamier than a bowl of hot gravy. Poor old Jake Marshall, though, must have been going through hell. You mean because of his brother's death? They were close, those two. After Neil died, something took over Jake. He became obsessed. Seeing Jake like that made her all the more desperate. Her? Lana Skye. My sister. The Skye, they're sisters. The best of the best were put on that SL9 case. Of course, they were led by that legendary duo. Lana and Chief Gant. That legendary pair was the reason we were able to keep up our investigation. That's why we were so shocked over how it turned out. You mean, with the forging of the evidence? Don't get me wrong, Joe Dart got what he deserved. Still, it was obvious the evidence produced in court had been manipulated. Items our team never found would suddenly appear, while other items were kept secret. But you didn't have proof or anything that anything illegal was done. I'm proof enough of what happened. After that case, all of us save Goodman were relieved of our duties, most without even so much as an explanation. Then Lana Skye transferred to the prosecutor's office and became chief prosecutor. Lana always wanted to be a prosecutor. Nothing's quite as simple as it appears. My foot is caught in the fucking cable. Huh? Lana Skye was merely being used as a pawn. What? That's my take on the matter. And where has this revelation come from? Because you haven't said that up until now. God, I'm so chilly. My heating's just kicked in. I can hear it. It comes on at 5. But like, oh man, I'm so cold. I know I could have got up and just went and turned it on, but I'm also lazy, so. Am I still in shot? Do I look alright? I am, but I'm like way off in the corner. Also, look at my hair. Oh god, it needs wash. Look at it. I look like a boy. Oh well. I can shimmy this round a bit and then I'll be in the like proper like camera shot. Right. Just getting my blanket over my legs. I'm so chilly. She was being used. Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 years ago, Gant was chief detective and Lana second in command. They were the best. They solved all kinds of cases together, didn't they? Damon Gant's magnetism in particular was almost unreal. His magnetism? By that I mean his ability to attract evidence. He produced the most incredible evidence in the cases he handled. Incredible evidence? You mean... Oh yes, there were rumours about him even back then. No one dared confront him though. I take it she's talking about forged evidence. Back then everyone looked up to Lana. All the detectives wanted to be like her. Really? Oh yes, myself included. I was a fool, really. She hated anything crooked and always watched out for the other detectives. That's why she was so concerned for Jake. Mr. Marshall. When Jake's brother was murdered, she felt as if she had lost her own brother. If it wasn't for her, I don't think Jake would have ever recovered from his shock. That's what makes it all the more infuriating. Miss Starr. That's why I'll never be able to forgive her. Why did she have to turn so cold after that? Yeah, being used. I'm very intrigued with this. Lana transferred to the prosecutor's office 2 years ago, didn't she? Yes, thanks to Chief Gant's powerful influence. Chief. That's right. Having solved the SL9 case, his position as chief was secured. The Mercer legacy is secure, sure. Secure? Secure, sure. There was only one thing left for him to control, and then no one could stand in his way. The prosecutor's office. What? You mean that's why Lana was transferred? If he could control the chief prosecutor, he could control the prosecutor's office. That must have been his goal all along. But how could he control Lana? I don't know, but one thing's for sure. Ever since that case ended, she's never been the same. It's only logical to conclude. There must have been a reason for her change. At last. I'm finally getting close to the bottom of this ugly mess. Thank you, Miss Starr. You listen to me, rookie. It takes more than just ingredients to create this fine cuisine. I hope you turn out to be a better chef than I have been. I don't know if we get anything to show her. Deary me. I can never show her that photo since she says anything. I don't have anything else to tell you. Ah. Well, I guess she doesn't have anything else to tell us then. Miss Starr? The only thing I can give you now is a Poppy Seed rice set. Talk about cheap. Eat this, and maybe you'll be able to tell black from white in court tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think that's how that works. Right, we finally go into the office. Wait, no. Aye, yeah. Yeah, we need to go back to the police station. I apologise for all the yawning, I cannot help it. Oh yeah, because I need to talk to Gumshoe, don't I? Oh, you're back. You're still here? I got like 150 copies of these files. Brewing coffee, coffee and files. I'm turning into a regular DJ. You're a DJ as well? If I'm not mistaken, I think he means a desk jockey. Oh, that DJ. I gotta admire your persistency, but my answer is still no. I'm not letting you in the chief's office, period. It'd be my neck on the line. That office is the last crime scene in the SL9 incident. I have to take a look in there. There's got to be something we can do to make the detective change his mind. Yeah, we want to give him the letter. I figured it out. I realised I could have went left. I'm really struggling to stay away. This is so annoying. What's this crumpled up piece of paper? Lying here 'cause I remember it all, too well. Maybe we got lost in translation. Maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece before you tore it all up. Has anybody else been doing nothing but listen to All Too Well 10 minutes version since it came out? Because I know I have. Oh, he's gonna cry. No way! Mr. Edgeworth can't be serious. Is he ever not serious? I can't believe they've pushed him this far. Mr. Edgeworth really feels responsible. At first, I thought he was as cold as ice, but now I know different. He trusted us detectives to provide him with sound evidence. But we betrayed him. Detective. That's it. I've made up my mind. But, here, take my ID card. We can't do that. If someone finds out, and they won't let you off the hook with another loss for them to report. Or another lost item, even. Look at me, it's no secret I'm already out of the loop. After all, I'm friends with Mr. Edgeworth. Depending on how this case turns out, I may already be as good as terminated. What? So at least let me do this, for Mr. Edgeworth's sake. Alright, detective, thank you. Crikey, I'm so tired. Just give me a second, I think. Try and recalibrate. Gumshoe's ID tucked swiftly into your pocket. Is he got anything else to say? Nope. Okay, and then we can go... Oops, no, that's not the one. We can go straight to the chief's office then. Woohoo! I have a feeling there's going to be evidence in here. Here goes, Mr. Wright. Click. Beep. Woohoo! Back into this scary organ room. Do you think that was Lana's old desk? Open sesame. If anyone finds this now, Detective Gumshoe's a goner. If that happens, I'm counting on you to bail me out. Eek! Gah! Oh my god. Did she knock him out? Oh my god, she hit him, didn't she? Sorry, I thought you were a ghost. I didn't even know you could slap a ghost. Ah! Detective Gumshoe! What are you doing sneaking up on us like that? I wasn't sneaking. I was just worried something might go wrong. So I came too. If you're here, then what's the point in giving us your ID card? Crumpled Gumshoe's ID card in pocket. Hey, don't do that to my card. Okay, it's going normal around here. I hardly ever get a chance to come in here, so I figured I'd have a look around myself. Besides, we're all in this together now. You really do want to get fired, don't you? Not if we're lucky. Now come on, let's see what we can find out. I've got a bad feeling about this. I got a bad feeling. I'm going to turn this all into Taylor Swift lyrics. That desk on the other side of the room, was that your sister's? Yes, that's where I was waiting for Lana, on that day 2 years ago. Is anyone using it now? No, sir. This is entirely Chief Gant's office now. He practices a strict policy of preserving the crime scene. That's a strange reason to leave it there. He leaves it as a warning to everyone else. He wants us to always be alert. He told us so himself at our New Year's Eve party. Of course, he was pretty intoxicated at the time. I see. So ever since Lana left, no one ever touches that desk? No one except Chief Gant and the cleaning lady, who's in here each morning. Still, 2 years have passed since that incident. There can't possibly be any clues remaining. Oh, there probably are. Can I ask you something? Sure. You only came here to look around, right? Because it's one of the SL9 crime scenes. I mean, that's your only reason for coming here, isn't it? Why do you ask? You don't think... Nah. You wouldn't be... No. No, there's no way. Never mind. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now then, let's look around a bit more. Hey, hold on. Not so fast, buddy. Huh? What's up? When someone tells you don't worry about it, it's supposed to start bothering you, pal. You don't just let it go at that. Sorry, this guy's starting to get off my... I'm supposed to say get off my nerves. That's not how that works. Get on my nerves. Okay, so what's bothering you? You two don't think Chief Gant might be a surprise, do you? Did I even say surprise? I'm so sorry. It's the tiredness. It's actually, like, really all-consuming at the moment. I had this happen before, and it's so annoying. That's why I brought cola through. Because I take caffeine tablets when I'm tired, but, like, I thought I'd bring some cola through. But it's really, really difficult because my eyes just won't stay open. I start, like, proper losing the ability to function. Yeah, Mr. Wright, what do we think of him? Chief Gant. So it's finally come to this. What do I think of him? I think he's dodgy as fuck, personally. Perhaps it's best I don't divulge my feelings yet. There he goes, ignoring me again. Oh, gumshoe. I think he's dodgy as fuck. But let's look around. Right, what's the dealio with this fucking thing over here? This is the real deal, isn't it? This armor and these weapons. Sure is, pal. The chief doesn't care for imitations. First the pipe organ, now this armor. Do you know how many taxpayer dollars must have gone into this room? What? You mean we're paying for this? That's it. I'm not paying 1 cent of my taxes. Oh shit, Emma just became a Marxist. You don't have any taxes to pay. She's a future Marxist. Shh, be careful of what you say. Yeah, the capitalists might hear. Who knows, the chief may be hiding in this armor as we speak. I don't think he'd fit in there. Even if he did, he'd never be able to get back out. Cut it out, you guys don't know how scary that guy can be. Scary, huh? Wow, look at the size of Chief Gant's desk. Speaking of that, when we were here earlier... Oh, it's you two. Chief Gant. He put that paper he was reading in his desk. Oh, you're gonna swipe the paper, are you? I wonder what he was reading. This looks like a list of evidence. I thought it might be a list of evidence, and that's why Miles only had half. A list used in a case. A list of evidence? In most cases, the list runs twice as long as this. Yeah, Edgeworth has the other half. Hey, look at the case name. Huh? SL9 incident? I wonder what this is doing here. Hold on, detective. What did you just say? I said, I wonder what... No, about evidence lists. Normally they're twice as long. That's right. I guess there wasn't a lot of evidence. A half-size list of evidence. That list of evidence, it seems too short. Most lists run twice as long. What would the other half of the list be doing here? I knew it. The chief must be hiding something about that case. It would appear so. Evidence list added to the court record. What's that? Like a locker? That's what I meant. A safe. This is a safe, isn't it? Safe. That word is right with intrigue. Okay, if you say so. It looks like a code needs to be entered in this panel to open it. How am I supposed to know what the code is? A 7-digit number. I think I just might know what it is. Is it the ID badge number? Because we've got that list of IDs somewhere. Oh, it's not any of their cards. We don't know whose card this is. Okay, we should try 7 to... I feel like 7777777 isn't a very good password. Let's try it, but I think that's... If that is the case, then he needs to get a better passcode. Do you know what it is? I have a hunch. Oh, I know. You want to try my birth date? No. Who has a 7-digit birth date? Even if you do, like, the full year, it's still, like, 8 numbers, isn't it? There isn't such thing as a 7-date. Well, I suppose. If you were born in the first 9 days of a month, then it maybe would be 7. Okay, I'll let him off with it. I have a better idea. Here goes nothing. Okay. I forgot. I can't click up here. What am I doing? Right. 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7. So I got a black space, baby, and I'll write your name. Code confirmed, access granted. Oh, wow, okay. Well, sure. Bingo. So does that mean 7777777 is his ID card? What number did you enter? Whose birthday was that, pal? 7777777. The final ID card number on that record. What? The number of those mysterious executive officers. The number of the mysterious executive officer who entered the room that day. You mean 777777777? The ID number? I think you're 1 7 shy this time. That can only mean one thing. That's Chief Gant's ID number. Say, anyone care to look inside? Do I examine it? Or is that gonna make me do the fucking puzzle again? Is there any money in there? How much does he have stashed away? Look, it's a shard from the broken cup? This somehow looks familiar. Where have I seen this before? You made one! It's a giant vase! There's something else in here too. A handprint. What's this? It kinda looks like a piece of paper. Leather cloth. This is a handprint. This is a handprint, isn't it? Hey, I saw someone wearing a shirt drill like that once. You think the chief made up the congregation? That's not what he said. You think the chief made up the design? I'm so sorry. That's so bad, my brain. I don't think so. Oh, well, it was just a thought. Is that it? Is that all that was in the safe? Apparently so, it's empty now. A piece of cloth with a handprint on it. And a broken shard from a cup. They look like pieces of evidence. But unless you can prove that they have something to do with this case, I'm afraid I just can't let you take them. After all, it's my neck on the line here. Great, now I have to prove their relevancy to get them. How are these two items related to the SL9 incident? Come on, there's going to be something that we can show something we can show the detective. Oh, honey, no there isn't, because my brain is so melted. Right. What's this? Okay, it doesn't let me click on that. What's this? A plate? Is it a Diana plate? Wow, look at the size of Chief Gant. Oh, it's the desk again. We found this inside the drawer. A list of evidence from the SL9 incident. Mr. Edgeworth had the other half of that list. What would this list be doing here? I thought he was going to tell me about Princess Diana plates. We better look into it a little more in this list. Yeah, what's the deal with the pipe organ? The chief's organ sure is a sight to behold. Occasionally we hear him playing it from the Criminal Affairs Department. That's on the 2nd floor, and this is the 15th. When his detective screws up, the chief calls him to the office and makes him listen to the organ for hours. What's so bad about that? Music soothes the soul. After that, the detectives can't hear anything for days except the ringing in his ears. So it's an instrument for punishment. Well, isn't that pleasant? Aren't the chief's ears affected? He never listens to anyone anyway. That's besides the point. That's a bit. You can see pretty far from 15 stories up. If you were to drop that suit of armour from there... At first the chief wanted to use stained glass for the window. Really? Why didn't he? They say he changed his mind because he wouldn't be able to see the view. Oh. Stained glasses or not, it's a huge window. I mean, I can't argue that. It's a big ass window. Ugh. Man, so sleepy. 2 seconds. The mark looks like some kind of flower. What it is, it's designed after the insignia on the prosecutor's badge. Prosecutor's badge? Yeah, like the one hanging from your collar. What? They have badges too? The design's supposed to portray the severity of the punishment system. Now that you mention it, it does look all pointy and kind of painful. But Mr. Edgeworth never wears a badge. That's because he's a sharp dresser. A badge like that wouldn't go too well with his outfit. So sharp dressers don't need to wear badges. I guess everyone just kinda lets it slide. I don't see how that's supposed to signify severe punishment. Did I look at this already? I think that's what I just looked at, isn't it? Look at this. These shelves are mostly empty. Lana must have cleaned it out when she transferred over to the prosecutor's office. There's a small picture frame on this left shelf. Hey, this is when Lana and I went to that theme park. This was Lana's desk. It sure is tidy. Lana's always been a meticulous cleaner. There's not even any dust on it. It looks like someone's still keeping it clean. Does Lana ever come back here? No. Chief Gant must still keep it clean in memory of their partnership. They were the stuff legends are made of. Does he keep it in the memory of her or in his memory of the crime? Look at that giant window. Makes you want to crash through it and jump outside. This is the 15th floor. I know, I was just saying. Saying what? Ever since making detective, I've always dreamed about doing something like that. Note to self, Detective Gumshoe has a lot of dreams. So as long as he doesn't go crashing through that window when he gets fired, don't say that. Oh, this thing over here. No. I feel like I've checked everything. The walkthrough says when it's safe, get the jar. So I could do that now. I am still trying really hard not to use the walkthrough, but sometimes I'm just like, I can't be arsed walking through 50 rooms to figure out what to do next. Besides, we did get that bit of jar, so that does make sense. Detective Gumshoe, could you have another look at this jar? I keep sliding. All of us put that back together. Oh, those were the days. It's kind of early to be nostalgic. Wasn't this jar a piece of evidence from that case? That's right. One of the shards here had SL9 sticker on it. Doesn't this ring any bells? You know, that fragment we just found? You mean this one? The one that was in the safe? Yes, that one. That was in the safe. Now that you mention it, it's ringing a lot of bells. Let's see if it fits. Is he okay? Here, let me see that shard. I'll take a crack on this. Go ahead, pal. Show us what a rookie can do. Mr. Wright, here's some glue. If I can piece this together again, it'll prove Chief Gant was knowingly holding evidence. Here goes. It's the other way into it. There we go. It's not a very nice looking vase. I still don't know what's quite up with these bits at the side. There! Fits like a charm. That, of course, means Chief Gant willingly and knowingly hid a piece of this jar in his safe. In other words, he concealed a piece of evidence from the SL9 incident. But, hey guys, get a load of this. What is it? This piece you just attached is different from the others. There's a reddish line on it. A reddish line? That's blood. I don't get it. Why would Chief Grant hide a scarf? I don't think he did, somehow. Just, personally, that's my opinion. So if it's blood, can I use the luminol spray on it? Oh, the walkthrough says the fingerprint set. That does make sense. No, not the luminol. I'm gonna need to do it from the court record. I suppose we don't need luminol because we already know there's blood on it. Okay, how do I do it then? Do I present it to him? Do it what? Detective Gumshoe would like you to have a look at this. Hey, I know what that is. So, you want to take some fingerprints? That's a great idea, detective. Alright, go to town. Sheesh. What are you doing? Why are you sticking out your hand like that? Go ahead, take my fingerprints. It's not your fingerprints we want to take. Huh? Come on, this isn't the time for jokes. We're talking about that cloth we found in the safe. Oh, haha. I knew that. The one with the handprint on it, right? Sheesh, where's your sense of humor? Okay. Okay, Mr. Wright, let's check out for prints. Sprinkle the powder on the cloth. Then once they've been absorbed in the prints, blow the rest away. What are you, my mom? I don't have to be told a million times. Alright, let's get this one over with. H-E-R. And which finger do we want to examine? The middle one looks like it's quite dark. The thumb as well, though, also looks quite dark. Okay, here we go. I don't know about you, this looks like a fingerprint to me. No, still not having it. What is wrong with it? It's a perfectly good fingerprint. Oh, there we go. Compare. Well, it's Gant's office. No, that's not him. Okay. No, that doesn't match. It looks like we're out of clues this time. Yeah. But it was inside the chief's safe. Right, along with that shard. So that means it's got to have something to do with that incident. The one that happened right here in the room. She's right. We should check the fingerprints of everyone who was here in that day. The way I see it, there's a higher power at work here. You've just got to have faith. Okay, well, we don't have Neil Marshall's fingerprints, but we do have Lana's. Lana, Bobana, Banana, Fana, Fofana, Fifi, Momana. That's not hers. Bars incomplete. No matches found. Who was the other one? Not Jake Marshall. Emma was here. Looks like we're at clues this time. Skip through the dialogue again. Oh, we do have Emma. Oh, shit. It's Emma's fingerprints. Girl, I'm gonna need an explanation from you. No. How can this be? What are Emma's fingerprints doing here? Hey, you found a match? Whose fingerprints were they? Huh? Oh, it seems the prints are too old. They aren't clear enough to get a match. Oh, that's too bad. I thought they'd be Dark's prints. Psst. Hey you, over here. What's going on there? What are that kid's prints doing inside the chief's safe? Don't ask me. Let's just keep this information from Emma for now. Here. Maybe you should hold on to this. Strap of cloth folded and added to the court record. Strap of cloth, even. I can't read! Well, was I any help? Of course. Thanks to your ID card, we were able to get some hard evidence. Now that's not very kind, is it? In other words, if it wasn't for his ID card, he would have been useless. Oh God. Isn't that right, you in the court? Eek! Chief Gant. We didn't think you'd be back so soon. Fortunately, I'm a man who believes in signs. As I was walking to my meeting, I happened to look out a window and saw a stray dog run right into a pole. What? Just then I thought of a certain detective. Do you mean me, sir? Now then. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you all to leave. Yes, sir. Sorry. Oh, you in the court. Me, sir? Drop off your ID on the way out. You won't be needing it anymore. But sir... Yeah, well, I mean, that is definitely breaking the rules. Now get out. Yes, sir. Oh, no, Gumshoe. We'll be on our way too, then. Wait. You, the one without the spiky hair. Don't go yet. Me, sir? I'd like a word with you. But, sir, I'm not a licensed scientific investigator yet. You with the spiky hair. You're free to go. Mr. Wright. Seems dodgy as all hell. Look, pal. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. The chief's office is off limits. But no, you just had to go sneaking in there like that, didn't you? I thought you said you didn't care anymore if you were fired. Yeah, but if I knew it'd be like this, I never would have said it. Now that I've seen the evidence Chief Gant was hiding in his office, I think I'm finally starting to get the picture. It's hard to believe anyone could keep quiet about it all this time. Anyway, you listen to me? I'm gonna try to smooth things over with the chief again. Later, pal. After that, I heard from Emma. She said the police want to ask her some questions, so she'll be busy for the rest of the day. Oh no, has she been arrested? February 24th, Detention Center's visitors room. Oh, Solana. I see. So the chief asked Emma to come in for questioning. It's no use thinking about it. Tomorrow's the final day in court. I'm committed to doing everything I can to defend you, which is why I'm here. I've already told you all I can. What you've told me over the past couple of days is absolutely nothing. Not a single useful thing. Really? I believe I did mention something quite important. Something I told you right at the beginning. I said that I was the one who stabbed Detective Goodman. You know, I think I've finally figured it out. Who it is you're hiding behind those words? Mia did a very good job mentoring you. I'm rather jealous. It seems Edgeworth was right. Edgeworth? Once you're convinced you know something, no one can persuade you otherwise. Thick-headed is the term he used, I believed. Now's my chance to get her to tell me the rest of the story. Okay. Keeping quiet. I have to admit, I was more than a little perplexed at first. You insisted you did it, yet there was no incriminating evidence. That's when it hit me. It's not that you're unwilling to tell the truth. It's that you're incapable of doing so because of a certain individual. What intriguing notion. A certain individual, you say? So you think I'm protecting this person? Protecting? No, I think afraid of is more like it. If I'm not mistaken, the person in question may have persuaded you to silence. I think it's Damon. I think Damon Gant's up to all sorts of shit. For argument's sake, Mr. Wright, whom may I ask is this person you're speaking of? The one I am supposedly so frightened of. What is this person's name? Officer Meekins. He's terrified of Officer Meekins. Damon Gant. She's terrified of Gumshoe, definitely. Gumshoe and Angel Star. Well, Miss Sky? Mr. Wright, you were addressing the Chief Prosecutor. Do not forget your place. I take it she's still not ready to spill the beans. My apologies. Could you please tell me a bit more about the circumstances? We were partners until 2 years ago. I respected him as a detective. Assuming he is respectable, then tell me something. Why would he try to hide his crimes? His crimes? Both you and Edgeworth will be brought before a board of inquiry for what you did. Specifically, handling and forging an evidence. Of course, these are serious offences. Why is it, though, that the Chief Gant's name was never mentioned? Chief Gant? Edgeworth didn't know the truth behind the forgery. The only party who could have possible investigated that evidence was me. I had access because I was second in command of that investigation. Yes, you, but also one other, Damon Gant. If you intend to accuse Chief Gant, you'll need more than just words. Show me proof that Chief Gant falsified evidence in that case. Oh. What have we got? We got this from his office. I'm going to present this. You want proof of the Chief's wrongdoings? Here it is. That evidence proves someone is doing something wrong, alright. But it's not the Chief. Who would that be? Why, you, of course. Me? Yes. You seriously believe what you're saying, don't you? Now that's scary. You seem to have the markings of a criminal in you. What with all your fallacious accusations? Care to spend tonight in the next cell? If you ask me, you're the scary one. Okay, was that not the right evidence? Oh, when you've talked through every topic, present the unstable jar? Why? I was gonna say, I don't even remember what page it's on. Here we go. Showing evidence isn't going to do me any good now. Oh, what? Do I have to go through the conversation again? I've got to get Lana to tell me everything she's hiding. Mr. Wright, you're evolving by leaps and bounds. I'm starting to see the hunger in your eyes. Oh, so I need to go all the way back through this fucking conversation to get her to look at the vase. We were partners until 2 years ago. I respected him as a detective. Assuming he is respectable, then tell me something. Why would he try to hide his crimes? His crimes. Both you and Edgeworth were brought for an inquiry for what you did, specifically for blah 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 blah, serious offences. Why was his name never mentioned? Doesn't know the truth behind the forgery. The only person that could have known. Blah blah blah. If you intend to choose, you can't use more than words. More than words is all I ever needed you to show. Then you wouldn't have to say that you love me, 'cause I'd already know. I just found this in safe at the Chief's office. This jar piece and this strip of cloth. Aye, so I could show her the cloth. Do you know what these are? They're pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident. The witness concealing evidence was none other than Chief Gant himself. Now tell me, why are you taking all the blame for him? Because he saved my life. Okay, no. Touche, Mr. Wright. It's as you surmised. I cannot disobey the Chief's orders, even if it means being found guilty for murder. Why not? Come now, Mr. Wright. You can't possibly expect me to be able to tell you that. So she did stab Goodman, but she stabbed him on the authority of Gant? 3 days ago, I had no choice but to cooperate in the murder of Detective Goodman. Or perhaps I should say, follow orders. Yes, that's more accurate than cooperate. Girl, tell me. Although I can't tell you the details, I can say that I was given an order that day. I need you to dispose of Bruce Goodman's body. You'll find it inside the trunk of Miles Edgeworth's car. Just as I suspected, despite what everyone believes, you were not the one who murdered Detective Goodman. Correct. I was trying to take the body out of Edgeworth's car. The trunk was broken. I discovered that murder weapon while inspecting the body. The murder weapon? You mean Edgeworth's knife? No. When I found the body, there was this knife stuck in it. The knife from the SL9 incident. Serial killer Joe Dark's knife. I couldn't just leave that knife in him. So I took it out and stabbed him with another knife. That would be Edgeworth's knife? That's right. Even though he was already dead, my hands were shaking at the thought of us stabbing him. That's why I ended up cutting my hand. And that is the reason for the bondage in your... Oh my god. It doesn't say bondage, it says bandage. For the love of God. That's the reason for the bondage. Oh my god, this is so bad. That's the reason for the bandage in your right hand. Yes, it seems that I got blood in the victim's shoes as well. And then she saw me just as I plunged the knife in. Miss Starr. So she didn't kill him. He was already dead and she stabbed him anyway to try and prove a point. And now she's getting trialed for murder. Why did she need to hide Dark's knife so badly? It took a lot of work to finally close the Dark case 2 years ago. It was over with. I didn't ever want it to be opened again. My intent was to prevent that, by whatever means possible. So, you had Dark's knife. The weapon used to stab the detective was evidence in the Joe Dark case. If word got out, which it would, the reporters would have a field day with that. So you wrapped the knife in your scarf and hid it. In Edgeworth's exhausted pipe. Right. Then I called my sister. To tell her what happened, and to ask her to hide the knife that was inside my muffler. You asked Emma? I didn't want anyone else in the forces to know about this. That would explain why Emma was so confident. About Latin, for fuck's sake, about Lana's innocence. Speaking of phone calls, I had a bad feeling about one of them that day. I had a bad feeling. The truth is, after I received those orders from Chief Gant, the first thing I did was make a phone call. A phone call to Patrolman Jake Marshall. To Marshall? Why on earth would you call him? The lead investigator for the SL9 incident had been murdered. I wanted that fact to be kept hidden, and I needed help. He was the only other person I could trust. Or at least I thought I could trust him at the time. However, it seems that after I spoke to him, he went off on an escapade on his own. Oh, you mean, not wanting the case to die, he decided to take things onto his own hands. He disguised himself as Officer Goodman and tried to steal the evidence. He had barely stolen the ID cards. But it seems he still hadn't made up his mind to break into the evidence room. After my phone call, any remaining doubts he had must have disappeared. So your phone call caused the incident in the evidence room? I'm afraid that's all I can tell you. But Lana, you've earned my respect, Mr. Wright, both as a defense attorney and an investigator. Now please, don't pursue this any further in court come tomorrow. Tomorrow's trial. There's only one way to drive off Lana's demons. I've got to get to the bottom of everything. Detective Goodman's real murderer. And what went down in that chief's office 2 years ago? To be continued. It's probably lucky since I'm falling asleep. Not because I'm bored, this is just a natural reaction I have, especially when I'm on the computer. I tend to go into a bit of a dream-like state. Save state. Small state. Anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed that. I don't think this was the most exciting episode in the world, especially with me continually reading the wrong words and saying bondage, but yeah, it means that the next part will be the final case. I don't know, the final trial. I don't know if I'm going to split it into 2 videos or if we keep it as one. It depends on how we're looking for time when I'm recording it. But yeah, we're almost there. We only have 1 day of trial left, and then we've finished the entire game. So that is very exciting. Right now, I think Chief Gant, obviously she says Chief Gant's in on it. Chief Gant's in on it. I think Neil Marshall was probably in on it. I think it's a far bigger conspiracy than just Damon Gant as a dick. I think there's some stuff going on there. I think they've got more people involved in this cover up, and I think it's going to end badly for everyone. But we'll find out just how badly in the next episode. So once again, thank you for watching. I'm going to go get some dinner and hopefully wake myself up. I need to go outside to my freezer to get it, and hopefully the cold air will maybe shock some sense into me. And I will stop talking garbage and falling asleep while trying to record. And until the next episodes, thanks for watching, and I will see you there. Bye everyone. Wow, just under 2 hours. They're getting shorter again, thank God.